Hey guys, make sure you are subscribed to our channel and turn on notifications so you know all of our latest posts, and follow us on Twitter and TikTok to come chat some wrestling with us and see clips from our latest videos and podcasts. But now, let's get into the video. Yo, what's going on guys? C2 Wrestling back August the 12th. Monday Night Raw has just wrapped up. Last week, we had to do a full show recap. This week, all those stories that we talked about have advanced, but we're just going to focus in on two of them. And Snowden, it is not Monday Night Raw without one of the main stories being CM Punk and Drew McIntyre.
Absolutely. It is the biggest ongoing feud storyline on Raw. You can argue in the company. I understand there's a lot of stuff going on SmackDown too, but Punk versus Drew needs to be on the show. I'm glad it's on the show. I seen a rumor, who knows the truth behind it, but that Punk is slated for a lot of upcoming Raws. And that's great to hear. I want to keep seeing him on TV. In turn, we get what looks to be their future next match stipulation in a strap match. Personally, I know how I feel about it, but before I get into me, I want to hear how you feel about it.
I do feel storyline wise, it makes sense for I have said to you many times, I do not think they will face a Hell in a Cell. I think I've even said it on this channel. I don't see them being in Hell in a Cell, although their story makes sense for it. What would be the next match that makes sense for them? Granted, this could happen at Berlin. This might not happen at Bad Blood, or they may wait. But with all the running that they do, the chasing of each other, what makes more sense than having them strapped together? One person's got a strap on their wrist, the other person has a strap on their wrist, and it's a legal weapon, and they beat the absolute hell out of each other. So I think like at first when you read the headline, you're maybe like, maybe I'm not crazy about it, but I think it makes logical sense. And I mean, it's gonna be a disgustingly good match.
Oh yeah, I think they're going to beat the daylights out of one another in a strap match. And we've mentioned briefly in the past, this is very Triple H to make the match stipulation line up with the storyline, and a strap match does make sense. I agree with your assessment. I don't think they were going to get a Hell in a Cell at the Bad Blood pay-per-view. I see Cody closing that show again. It's in Atlanta. We had discussed this in some previous videos. But how do you still get drunk? Drunk. Oh my God. How do you still
Yeah.
get Drew and Punk? That's a good one.
Yeah.
How do you still get them on the show with as big as their feud is, but not closing the show? I think a strap match is a good way to have them on there. It's still a blood feud, blood rivalry. Again, they're going to beat the absolute daylights out of one another. I'm all for it.
I can tell you how to get drunk, and I can also tell you how to put this match into a pay-per-view. If this does happen at Berlin, a pay-per-view where we know Gunther is main eventing, this is a match that would slot in similar to its placement at SummerSlam. And granted, you might even move it to the beginning and have it open. I don't think so. I think it's more likely Cody and Owens would open since Gunther would seemingly close. It slots in a similar position to where it's, yes, it's not the main or co-main, but that's not how it always has to be in WWE. That like third to last match a lot of times, I know more so in the Vince era than the Triple H era, but that third to last match was your co-main event, and then you would get the breather in between, and then you would get the main event. Now, cards are smaller. It's much different now. Every match feels like it could be a main event of any type of show. But a strap match is something where it wouldn't overshadow your World Heavyweight Championship match. Say Drew and Punk were facing in a Hell in a Cell. That's a main event. Like that can't even open a show. Like that has to be the marquee match. So you have to kind of dial it back a little bit for its placement, but still give it the proper match that this rivalry and this story deserves.
Yeah, and I think they're doing just that. I think they are giving it the proper match that it deserves. Now, there's a couple match stipulations they could have chosen here, sure, but a strap match is fine. Is there maybe something else they could have done instead of that I would have liked to see more? Sure, but nothing that crazy. I also didn't think we needed the Hell in a Cell as much as I also didn't think we were gonna ever get it. I really didn't need it. The Hell in a Cell's been overdone for a while. I know we haven't seen it in almost 2 years at this point, but I still think it's pretty overdone. So I'm okay without it for a while. Drew versus Punk in Berlin is an interesting thought, just considering that card is crowded in a way with, Gunther, then you got Cody and Owens. And then, again, we're not going to get too deep into the progress we saw on Raw tonight, but it seems like we're going to be getting Damian and Rhea versus
They did announce that
Dom
on Raw.
and Liv. They did announce that.
Yep, they
Yes,
made
yes.
that
Okay,
official.
yes. Yep. I was watching some sports as well at the meantime. So thank you for that one. It's
Fair
money on
enough.
the line.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's already a pretty packed show. They're seemingly gonna maybe get a US title, an Intercontinental, or a tag title match on there as well. We're not gonna get all three, but I'm sure we get one of them in the mix as well. So you're gonna put another mega match in Drew versus Punk on there. It almost sounds too good to be true, but in hindsight, you look at that SummerSlam card and it was stacked, and that show was 10 out of 10. It's fantastic. Why not just stack this Berlin card?
And it goes to our good problem to have discussion that we've had plenty of times. They have so many marquee matches that these shows that aren't your main four pay-per-views are going to get great matches. And thinking just out loud, you're probably likely to get a SmackDown tag title match on there, maybe even the women's tag titles. I maybe the US title match is on there. I think that's more likely like the last SmackDown right before the pay-per-view.
Agreed.
You're probably not getting the Raw tag titles on there, considering you'd assume it's going to be Jay and Sammy next. Are you going to have that be that quick? That might be more of a bad blood. There's a bit of a gap between pay-per-views. I mean, this pay-per-view is what, the 30th, roughly? I can't even think.
Yeah, something along, yeah, around
It's
there.
end of the month,
Yeah,
and then
end of the month. Yeah,
there's none in September, correct? It's just an
hmm
NXT show in
I
September.
believe so. Yep.
So you're going to get a full month between this pay-per-view and then October 5th for Bad Blood. So some stories like a Drew Punk, probably more likely that's going to be at Berlin, which is only a few weeks away, rather than a month and a half away for a
hmm
Bad Blood. Not saying they won't face again, but I think we're kind of reaching we're in a little bit of spoiled. And I know people have kind of taken digs at the 5 to 6 matches for a pay-per-view, PLE, whatever the hell you want to call it. I personally like it, and this is where it pays off because every single match is relevant, is big, feels like it is justified of being on a pay-per-view.
I completely agree. The 5, 6 match shows are necessary. I'll go as far to say, and we're not here to hate. We're not hating on anybody, any company, nothing. There's some other companies out there that do these massive, 15 match plus shows. WWE has also done this many times. We've been to shows of that length, and they are rough. It's hard to get through. WWE has been doing it right. They've been hitting the nail on the head. Again, every PLE, every live event over the last year at a minimum has been fantastic. Even the worst one is still a great all around show. I'm looking forward to Bash in Berlin. I think that's going to be treated just like the recent Backlash events have been. All these out of country shows, Clash at the Castle. It's going to be a massive event. The pop for all these superstars is going to be unreal. Drew versus Punk is something that is so big, you almost have to get it on a card of that stature. How do you skip that out? Bad Blood is going to be huge, sure. It's not even as big as Bash in Berlin, to be honest with you. I know they're bringing back this event and all that, but if you really want to put something on paper and have it be a historic event, I say do it. I say stack that card. Drew Punk, Gunther Orton, the Damian Priest and Rhea tag match against Dom and Liv. I think you stack that card. Maybe we get we mentioned no Raw tag titles, things like that. Probably not happening on the show. Maybe a SmackDown tag title match, but I don't know where else they're going to fill in that card except with Drew and Punk.
I do think we get a SmackDown tag title because we're going to know the number one contenders most likely this Friday. But to kind of segue this to the other topic of Monday Night Raw, when you do lesser matches on a pay-per-view and stack pay-per-view like Bash in Berlin, like Bad Blood, the weekly shows often end up getting better, high quality matches that you aren't going to save for a pay-per-view. And that's exactly what we got with the main event tonight. A pay-per-view level main event, free on TV, Braun Breaker, Sami Zayn, 2 out of 3 falls. Faced at Money in the Bank, Sami Zayn won. They faced at SummerSlam, Braun Breaker won. They finish it with a 2 out of 3 falls. Snowden, I think, without a doubt, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the first 2 matches.
Mm-hmm.
Without a doubt, this was the best of the 3.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think it goes without saying that the second match, was a little short in comparison to the first and the third. 2 out of 3 falls, Raw main event. Again, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse in bringing up how great Triple H has been in this new regime. But these Raw main events over the last year or 2 years under this Triple H regime have been fantastic. They really are treated like main events. So we're getting something on a Raw Monday night that we would be getting at a pay-per-view. That was a fantastic match. I'm happy with how it went down. It's predictable. We all get it. Braun is winning that match, but that's the point. Put Braun over Sammy. Feud's done now. Maybe you do move Sammy on to something new with Jay. What do you do with Braun next is the big question. I want to toss it back to you. Who do you have go after the belt? Who's chasing the heel Braun Breaker?
So it's a great topic because we pretty much know what Sammy is doing, which kind of tipped the hand that we knew Sammy wasn't going to win the title back.
Yeah.
I think honestly, the first thing, because we are in established mode with Braun, we need statistics. We
Mm-hmm.
need, man, he beat this name, man, he beat this name. I don't want him running it back with Ilya just yet.
Agreed.
I don't want that. As much as I love Ilya and I want him on TV more, I don't see the benefit for Ilya. He's going to take losses. Someone that I think slots in perfectly that makes sense that Gunther also faced in his quest of legitimizing his title reign is actually another Braun, and that's Braun Strowman. I think if you had a moment on Raw where Braun Strowman is going to try to do his, incoming train, whatever, and Braun Breaker pops up and is running the other way and meets him in the middle and hits him with the spear, and they take the overhead camera, that's just a money shot to me. That's the first thing I think of in the start of that feud. And you
Mm-hmm.
have a powerhouse in Braun Breaker splitting in half the monster among men, Braun Strowman. I think it is a match that you could have at a pay-per-view, is more likely a main event of a Raw, but it is a necessary, this is going to come off harsh, stepping stone for Braun Breaker.
It absolutely is. And I agree. This was the first thing you kind of said there. Stats. We need Braun Breaker with those stats. I want to see him go over some people. He got the belt off Sammy. He has this win over Sammy. I want this Braun run when it's said and done for us to be able to look back and go, wow, he beat some stars in there. And Braun Strowman is a great name to knock off. I didn't even really consider him off the top of my head. I was kind of struggling to think of a, decent face name on Raw that you can have Braun go over, that they would have a great feud, but also not like tarnish anything. It wouldn't really be like a nobody. I also don't want to bring Ilya into the mix too soon. I think he's fantastic. I think he very well could be the one to beat Braun for the title down the line, but I don't want them to have to do that quite yet. Braun Strowman versus Braun Breaker, I think would be fantastic. I don't know if I need this, but I'm really not even opposed to some Braun Breaker open challenges just to pad those stats. Have him beat an Otis for the belt, retain the belt. Have him beat a Tozawa. I don't know. Some other guys, they can put on some good matchups on Raw just to kind of extend the run a little bit. I don't know if they're going to put Braun into a real big feud quite yet. I don't think there's anybody really lined up to face him in some, even if he's going to retain the belt in the long run, some big feud. I think it's going to be kind of filler matches until maybe Bad Blood onward.
Yeah, and I think you're in a spot with him where what makes the most logical sense is probably not either A, possible, or B, what you're going to do yet. Like him and Ilya running it back makes sense. He beat Ilya by count out. Ilya and him have history. Probably isn't the right time to run that back if you ever run it back. The
Mm-hmm.
next one that kind of makes sense is Ricochet, who probably is going to AEW.
Yeah.
And they wrote him off. But they wrote him off in a way that if they ever brought him back, it would make sense. And they have an easy path to do so. I don't think he's going to be back. I think based off reports, he's going to be gone. So if when you go into that aspect where the two most logical people don't actually make sense or aren't possible, that's for when you have to kind of divert to let's get his numbies up. Let's get him some defenses. He's got defense number one in, Sami Zayn's rematch. That that book is closed. Let's start the next, start the next book. Let's start the next chapter of the title reign. I do wonder though, it's kind of funny. We sit here and we always talk about how WWE is flooded with these strong baby faces. And right now, you have a strong heel in Bron Breakker who gets babyface reactions at time, but he needs to face a strong babyface. And really, not many of them are either open or make sense.
Yeah, it's kind of tough with a recent heel turn of Chad Gable. A guy like LA Knight, who is now a champion, but even if he wasn't, he's on a different brand. There's all these big baby faces in the company right now, like LA Knight, like Cody Rhodes. But they're not really on Raw in the mix of what would be a mid card title. So Braun is in an interesting spot right now until they really get somebody built up to be that person. If they ever do, hell, John Cena could be the one to take the title off Braun down the line. I'm not sure where they're quite going with this title run. I am looking very forward to it. We are going to get great matchups. Bron Breakker is the next big thing. He really is fantastic ever since he came around in NXT, all the way up until now. I think he holds it until WrestleMania. I don't know if I need him to hold it that long, but again, I think for the next month or so, we're going to kind of just get some filler stuff. He'll be around, have some more miniature feuds. It's interesting with, again, like they have another big heel right now in Bronson Reed, but and it would be a fantastic idea to give him an intercontinental title match or put a belt on him, but it's heel versus heel. It doesn't line up as well. It's tough. I don't really know what their next step is with Braun. It's tough for me to decide.
Yeah, a lot of people are tied up. Like Sheamus is a name that would make sense, but
Mm-hmm.
he's tied up in two storylines, one with Ludwig, one with Pete Dunne. So you're not going to do that. Bronson Reed makes sense from a name and legitimacy standpoint, but you're not going to go heel versus heel. And also, you're not going to derail one of them when you're building so much momentum for both of them. So as like we continue the discussion, maybe Ray.
That's an interesting name that I didn't really consider actually, but I'm for that. That's just another solid. Why not put that on? Why not put that on Braun's record? Braun Breaker, Intercontinental Champion, defends the title against the Hall of Famer Rey Mysterio. And let's be honest, we all know this. Rey can still go. That's a fantastic
Oh
matchup
yeah.
between the two of them. That'd be incredible.
So
That's a
I
must see.
I think I'm like stamping it right now, kind of cheating picking two names, but Braun Breaker's next opponent will be Rey Mysterio or Braun Strowman. And then probably after whatever the first one is, he will then face the other one. That's my official prediction.
Yeah, I could see both of those coming true, especially the Braun Strowman one. That almost feels like it's a guarantee, to be honest, whether it happens next or down the line. I'm looking forward to it either way, though. Braun Breaker, again, is one of the best things going right now. Braun, new IC champion. We got Drew and Punk, hot feud, rolling into what seems to be a strap match, Bash in Berlin. I'm hopeful we get a big event coming up. With that, we got a lot coming up as well. C2 Wrestling,
Absolutely.
some more podcast reviews, a lot more coming your way down the line as well. We are just getting started. It's again been great so far, but I want to hand it off to you. What are you doing next? What do you got going on?
I have work and a lot more work and more work and then a bit of travel and then come back and more work. But in between all of that, we got more videos to do. And before we get to those videos, I got to ask you watching, get down in the comments below. Braun Breaker, who do you think logically and who do you want to see next for him? Do you care? Do you even care for him versus Braun Strowman? Do you think him versus Ray makes sense? Is there a name that we are not mentioning? Throw it in the comments below because I would love to hear what you guys have to say. We are an interactive channel. We want to talk to the people, and there's nothing better than everybody throwing ideas at the wall, and we see which one sticks.
Absolutely. We like to comment back. We like to read the comments. We like to interact. We like talking wrestling. That's what this channel's about. We've been stating that from the beginning, and we ain't stopping anytime soon. Until next time.
Until maybe
See,
tomorrow night.
literally, maybe until tomorrow night. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm Chris.
I'm also Chris.
C2 Wrestling, baby.
Catch you guys next time.